CBS Sports HQ brought to you by Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xE. The 2022 NBA Draft had a few surprises for us Thursday night. One of those coming right off the top with the selection of Paolo Banchero, first overall. Great suit, though. Banchero wasn't the favorite to be selected first by Orlando, so those who got him at that plus number loved turning in that ticket. Our Gary Parrish calls Banchero the most impactful player of the draft class and an incredible building block for the Magic. He's already listed at plus 350 to win Rookie of the Year. So here's a quick recap of the top 10. Chet Holmgren went second to Oklahoma City. Many expected he would. The favored number one pick, Jabari Smith, dropping to the Rockets at 3. Keegan Murray surprised a few going 4th, with the Pistons benefiting. They would gladly take Jaden Ivey at the 5 spot. Wisconsin small forward Johnny Davis rounding out the top 10 as he went to the Wizards. All right, for more on how the draft all went down, let's now welcome in CBS Sports basketball writer Colin Ward-Henninger. And I just want to point out off the top, we are just after lunchtime here. Colin, you were up until 6 a.m. Eastern Time recapping the draft last night.
Hey, you do what you love. Everything that happened in the draft last night was kind of surprising, so there was a lot to unpack, but nothing I love better than talking NBA draft.
You are a trooper. Draft grades, by the way, up over on CBSSports.com. Colin and Kyle Boone taking care of that for us. Okay, let's discuss how the guys fit into the systems that they've been drafted into. We'll start with the top pick, Paolo Banchero. When you look at him, how does he fit this Magic team?
Yeah, this was obviously the big shock at the top of the draft. Jabari Smith Jr. was supposed to be the number one pick pretty much for this entire draft cycle, and the last minute news that Banchero was going to be number one came in, but he really does fit what the Magic do. I mean, Smith did a little bit. Banchero does a lot, because what the Magic have been looking for is an offensive player, somebody who take the reins offensively. Their offense has been terrible for the last few years. If you look at the other prospects that they've drafted, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, they have Wendell Carter, Jonathan Isaac if he comes back and plays healthy. These are all kind of defensive-minded players, not anybody who's going to go out there and just get you a bucket. That's exactly what Banchero is going to do. At his size, 6'10", the skill set that he has, you watch him on video, you see all the skills, and this is so rare, not only for a player this young, but for a player this big. You look at him, he's an absolute monster. The way he handles the ball, crosses over, can shoot the mid-range jumper, obviously get to the basket with that power. He's also an excellent passer. So if you're talking about fit, Banchero going to the Magic, he's immediately going to have that alpha playmaking role, and I think that's exactly what the Magic needed. So, everybody kind of thought that they were going to take Jabari Smith, but when you look at Banchero, he actually does seem to fit the Magic a little bit better.
And according to Caesars, he'll be fighting with Jabari Smith for the Rookie of the Year honors at plus 350, the current odds. Right? Our Gary Parrish said that Chet Holmgren had the highest ceiling of any picked in this draft, but is he a good fit for the Thunder, Colin?
Yeah, I agree with Gary. I had Chet ranked number one on my prospect rankings, and yes, of course, he's a great fit for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Nobody loves drafting 7-foot, 112-pound guys like the Thunder. They took another one in this draft later with Ousmane Dieng. But Chet Holmgren's skill set perfectly complements what the Thunder have already. They have great guards in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Josh Giddey, a great defensive stopper in Lou Dort on the wing. Now you add Holmgren, who's one of the best defensive prospects that we've seen in a long time, not only with his shot blocking, but with his instincts and his high basketball IQ. That also translates to the offensive end, where he didn't have to do a whole lot at Gonzaga, but there's a lot of untapped potential there in terms of playmaking, shot making. His three-point shot is really good. I think that we're going to see a lot more on the NBA level offensively from Holmgren than we were able to see in college. I mean, this guy's been an Instagram legend since his early days in high school, crossing up Steph Curry and dunking and stuff like that. I think we're going to see a lot of that with Oklahoma City because the floor is going to be spread out. And then defensively, that's exactly what Oklahoma City needs. We've seen with Robert Williams on the Celtics how they've taken their best shot blocker and put him on kind of a wing player, a non-shooting wing player, so that he can roam and play free safety. I think that's a similar role that we're going to see with Chet Holmgren with his ability to have weak side block shots. So I love the fit here, and it's perfectly on brand for what OKC likes to do.
For all the drafts that we did, the mock drafts here on CBS Sports HQ, Holmgren was the #1 pick up until the last draft when Colin took Jabari Smith first overall, but he goes #2 to Oklahoma City, plus 550, by the way, to win Rookie of the Year. All right, many thought that Jabari Smith Jr. would be heading to Orlando with that top pick. Instead, he falls to the Rockets. No intrigue here as the Rockets take the best player available. So when you look at Jabari Smith and this fit with the Rockets, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, again, it's kind of in a similar boat as Banchero. I thought he was going to be a good fit with the Rockets. I think Jabari Smith is a better fit. And that's because you have guys like Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., even Alperen Şengün, the center. These are all guys that kind of need the ball in their hands. They're playmakers. They are the ones who are going to be driving the offense. Those are kind of Jabari Smith's weaknesses, right? What we know he can do, he can shoot the heck out of the ball. He's a very big player who can post up smaller players, exploit mismatches, things like that. And then defensively, he can switch, basically 1 through 4, very versatile upside defender. So the Rockets have absolutely no defense to speak of. So on that side of the ball, Jabari Smith is going to be a tremendous addition. And then offensively, he can kind of space the floor. They just got rid of Christian Wood, traded him to Dallas. That was kind of the role that he occupied. You can think that Jabari Smith will step right in and be able to play that role as well, knocking down three-pointers, being kind of a lob threat around the rim, and then being the kind of defensive rim protector, versatile switching type of defender that the Rockets need. So, I would imagine that the Magic kind of set this smokescreen, letting everyone think that they took Jabari Smith to kind of make the Rockets panic. I don't think it worked. I think that they were happy to take Jabari Smith at #3, and I think he's going to, join that core with Jalen Green to make a Rockets a really exciting young team.
Yeah, certainly Rockets fans have a lot to be happy about with that pick. Let's go to 5. The Detroit Pistons saw Jaden Ivey fall to them at that spot, and the Pistons, one of the draft winners last night, by all accounts, also getting Jalen Duren in a trade. 2 pretty good pieces to put alongside Cade Cunningham here, Colin.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that it played out this way. Everyone kind of had an inkling that the Sacramento Kings were going to take Keegan Murray just because of the fit. Jaden Ivey was the clear #4 prospect. Some people put him right on par with those top 3 in terms of his potential and his upside. So for him to fall to the Detroit Pistons at #5 was an absolute blessing. You could tell because immediately after they got him, there were teams clamoring to try to trade up and try to get Ivey from the Pistons. They said absolutely not. And that's because this fit is just amazing. Cade Cunningham, a bigger guard, maybe even play small forward, but he's a playmaker, he's a point guard. Those are the types of deficiencies that Jaden Ivey has coming into the league. What he's going to be able to do is absolutely dominate in transition. He's going to be able to get to the rim in a half court, and then he's going to be able to step back and create his own offense. So I think he's the perfect player to put next to Cade Cunningham. And then you look at Jalen Duren, the other pick that they got. They're going to have a lob threat and a rim protector on the defensive side. So the Pistons have to be absolutely ecstatic that Jaden Ivey fell to them. When we look back at this draft, it's rare that the top 3 players picked are actually end up being the best 3 players in the class. And if you're going to pick somebody who's going to jump into that mix, Jaden Ivey is probably that guy. So for the Pistons to grab him at #5, it's an absolute win, and they have to be thrilled with what they've got in the backcourt.
All right, let's go to #8. Dyson Daniels goes to the Pelicans. When you look at Daniels, what does he add to this Pelicans team?
This is it's a perfect pick. I know I'm raving about all these picks, but Dyson Daniels, to play the point guard position at that size, he is a defense-first prospect, and that's exactly what the Pelicans need. We watched them kind of ascend and make their way into the playoffs with C.J. McCollum and Brandon Ingram. Obviously, they hope that Zion Williamson is coming back into the mix, another offense-first player. And you have Jonas Valanciunas, who's a great post scorer. So all this offense, you didn't need to draft some bucket getter. They got a defense-first point guard who has incredible, offensive upside. He kind of reminds me of Lonzo Ball, who the Pelicans chose not to retain in free agency. He went to the Chicago Bulls. They now basically have a replacement. He's a ball mover on offense. He's not going to shoot the ball like crazy, but he knows how to play basketball, high basketball IQ. He told our James Herbert he was excited to get to the NBA so that he could play real basketball. That's what he's going to be able to do with the Pelicans. And like I said, what he brings defensively, along with Herbert Jones, this is going to be a really, really good team if Zion Williamson is able to come back strong and healthy.
Right after grabbing and then trading Jalen Duren at 13, Charlotte came back at 15 to grab Mark Williams. Colin, they needed a big man, and they got one here.
Yeah, we were all celebrating. Jalen Duren, they got their guy. Oh, wait, he's been traded. We don't know which team he was traded to. It was all very confusing. But then they ended up getting Mark Williams at 15. So they did fill that center need. No offense to Mason Plumlee, but they needed a center who was going to grow with this young core. Obviously, you immediately think of the lob capabilities from LaMelo Ball to Mark Williams. This is a prospect who, in previous years, maybe 5 years ago, would have been like a top 5 guy. Just considering how the center position has changed, how the center position is valued in the NBA now, he fell to 15, but I think that's a great pick for the Hornets. I think he's going to be able to do everything that they need. Huge wingspan, great shot blocker on the defensive end, and then as I mentioned, a lob threat rim runner. And what you really love about a guy like Williams is that you see so many guys in the NBA and they're not quite sure what their role is. You know exactly what Mark Williams is going to bring when he gets to the NBA. Shot blocker, rim runner, lob threat. He doesn't shoot three-pointers. He doesn't shoot outside the key. I think it's a great pick for the Hornets at number 15.
All right, lastly, let's talk about the champions. The team that you cover for us, Golden State, took a big swing on Patrick Baldwin Jr. here. Many thought that E.J. Liddell would be the safe pick. Baldwin Jr., he's not going to be contributing on the floor anytime soon. So when you see him fitting into this team, what does that look like?
Yeah, I don't know if he's not going to be contributing anytime soon, Jeremy. I mean, we looked at their picks last year, Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. We didn't think they were going to play very much. They ended up playing decent minutes, even in the playoffs in their championship run. So Patrick Baldwin, this is, another story where a guy was one of the top players in his class in high school, decided to go the unconventional route, went to, University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and had a terrible year. I mean, we're not going to sugarcoat it. But the talent is clearly there. A very big, 6'9" ball handler, shot creator. You talk about getting him into that Warriors development program. Look what they've done with Jordan Poole in just a couple of years. You take that kind of talent and you cultivate it. As you said, he might not play a lot immediately, but I think there's definitely a chance that he could work his way into the rotation as the year goes on if he develops properly. Bob Myers, the general manager, has done a tremendous job with the Golden State Warriors, and I think taking a big swing, like you said, on a player with huge talent that didn't necessarily have the results in college, I think that's the right move for a team that's clearly going to have championship aspirations again next season.
And what do they say? No risk, no reward, right? Why not? Take a swing. He is CBS Sports basketball writer Colin Ward-Henninger breaking down last night's NBA draft fits for us. Thanks very much, Colin. As you take a look at the odds for the NBA title next season, it is the Warriors, favorites to run it back at plus 500. Then you have the Celtics at plus 600. Taking a look at some of the longer odds, 76ers plus 1,600. Memphis, they look pretty good, as did the Mavericks. They're both also at plus 1,600. Long shots, the Jazz and the Pelicans, plus 5,000.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.